you want to talk about things that are just unbelievable at the start of the season. If you had told me that one of men's or women's soccer would have made it, would have thought for sure women's soccer easily. Here we are, October 31st, Halloween, and it's like a trick. It's like a prank. Part of me expects to wake up tomorrow and think, yeah, women's soccer, they're going to be in the postseason. Nope. This team, unbelievable. I mean, you want to talk about disappointments. This team was a disappointment this season. Missing playoffs for the first time since 2015. Finishing the regular season, losing record for the first time since 2015. And again, just look at the team, look at the results, and it's not that much of a shock to realize why they fell so hard. There's several ways you could go, but I think the one point I'll start with for sure is that heart of the conference season from September 26th up to October 17th, they had one total point in 5 games. How little the conference season is already. You're not making the playoffs getting 1 point in 5 games.
You just can't. I mean, not only that, in that stretch, in that 5 games, you scored 1 goal.
Yes. They went 0-4-1 in that 5-game stretch. They didn't even get a win. They got nothing. Virtually nothing.
And the draw was a scoreless.
Yeah. And you look at the standings, and Stony Brook missed out by 1 point. And honestly, when you look at why this team failed, that's really where you could start, is just the offense wasn't there. A lot of times defense, I felt like, wasn't really there either, or there enough. But the offense especially, it was not great to watch. 8 goals in total in conference play, 16 total. That's 7th and 8th in the conference. Shots-wise, they were shooting about 127 shots total on the season. That's midway marker. Okay, maybe you could try to get a team, and sneak them into the conference postseason that way. But again, 8 goals in conference play, averaging less than a goal per game, just not winning soccer. And honestly, outside of Alyssa Francis, this team had no playmakers. And you go back about a month or 2 back, I said, great, they got Alyssa Francis. They can run the offense through her. Yes, there needs to be other playmakers because other defenses are going to catch up and they're going to target her and ultimately neutralize her to where you need someone else to step up. And no one else stepped up for that Seawolves team offensively, I thought.
You need another striker, at least.
1 or 2. Look at UMBC. They're on a roll. They had 2 or 3 real good strikers in terms of the top of scoring list this season. And let me see if I have it here. But I believe, every playoff team, with the exception of NGIT, which has the best defense in the America East, one of the best in the nation as well in terms of conference play, every playoff team except NGIT had 2 or more players with multiple goals in conference play. Stony Brook had Alyssa Francis, and that's it. And again, look at the girls on this list, especially offensively. You have Alicia Dios, you have Tatum Kalka, you have Chelsea DuPont, who was the other best goal scorer outside of Alyssa Francis. She could only get, 1 in conference play. And this team just, when it came time to, just get 1 point, during that 5-game stretch, 2 points, couldn't get it done. Barely got the 1 point too. Just again, the offense wasn't there. And really, to me, it's not like defense played any better, man. They were so conservative that it was insane. They really didn't like to tighten up. There wasn't a lot of challenges. Sure, you got girls jockeying for position, staying in front of the defender, but there's still space in between them and the ball. You're giving your opponents free real estate to take their shots, and they didn't waste any time doing that. And one of the reasons why, look at the save percentages for Emerson Burke. And while I thought she played a lot of games well, she was 9th and last in the conference in terms of total save percentage with 810 and 759 overall. Giving up 1/4 of your shots faced is just can't do that in the college game. And the fault doesn't necessarily rely all on Emerson Burke. It also goes to the defense, which gave up several bad turnovers in their own end throughout the season, looking at that Hartford game in particular. And that game in particular, Stony Brook really controlled the possession about 70% of the time. And in the end, they ended up losing that game 2-0.
Yeah. I mean, every point leads to a losing season, leads to a disappointing season. The men, okay, same problem, same level of disappointment. And I mean, we're talking about Commissioner's Cup here. Right now, the standings with the Commissioner's Cup, these much be desired. Another RBI single, 2-run score, 7-5 Houston. But
quickly, just wrapping up on the women's side, there's going to be a lot to be desired, obviously, but a lot lost as well. Francis, who we were just talking about, is gone. She graduates. Her tenure has run out, even with the extended year. She finishes as the second greatest goal scorer in program history. And honestly, the best player I think I saw in program history. Sophia Manners up there as well. Chelsea DuPont also graduating. And you got several key starters or bench players like Renee Ward, Alicia Dios, Ariana Barberare, Tatum Kalka, and Murray Brendan. They're all gone too. So there are several juniors there that's going to have to step up and fill the void. But Coach Bischoff's also going to have to really, find these next recruits he already has and really start to build them up, because you're going to see a lot of underclassmen start to get a lot more playing time. And he's really going to have to adjust not only his offense, but his defense as well to fit that and understand that these new girls understand the system, are going to have to make it a bit easier for them, as well as tighter for their defensive strategies.
The season isn't over yet for men's soccer, but it sure seemed like it on October 28th, Thursday, at New Hampshire. New Hampshire's been stomping all over everybody, so the expectations weren't high going in. 5-0 the final.
Sixth in the nation for a reason. And it was impressive that actually took them 23 minutes to score, because they had the ball pretty much the whole game. But 23rd minute, Tola Sholani got his first of 2 goals on the night. And although Stony Brook was able to keep the score a 1-goal game through the end of the first half, it didn't really take that long in the second for the Wildcats to add on. And it's not really much of a surprise. We talked about it that, it would be a long shot. This was a game you kind of write off as a loss for the Seawolves. And thankfully for them, they're third in the standings. And as things go now, with only a couple games left to go, they should be good to go in the playoffs. They should be able to get in, and will probably be, at the moment, I think, be facing a 4 or 5 seed. So
now the question I have is, I said it was disappointing from the point of view, first of all, they have not officially clinched yet. New Hampshire, Vermont, Albany, UMBC have. And expectations were higher from this team as well.
Well, I mean, I don't think they were predicted to, if I recall correctly, they weren't predicted to get into the postseason like women's soccer was. And I think, got 1 game left to go against Albany. I feel pretty confident about their chances that, they will be able to clinch. This team, I think, with their backs against the wall more often than not, they've been able to show that they're able to get the job done. It's true, they are under 500 in conference play, so it's not like it's been smooth sailings. UMass Lowell, they lost that 3-1, similarly to Hartford at the start of the season, or start of the month. But other performances against UMBC and NJIT showed that they could bounce back after some tough losses, and that the offense will be there for them to get those 2 or 3 goals needed to get them the victory. 1 goal, I don't think you can do it against Albany.
UMBC got in with a 3-4-1 record, so all Stony Brook needs is a tie to get in.
Yeah, tie or win.
Lowell, and the schedule for tomorrow, where these games will be played. Let me get the schedule here, because Stony Brook plays Albany 6 p.m. That is at Laval. NJIT gets Hartford, Vermont gets Binghamton, and New Hampshire gets UMass Lowell. And in the standings, the only 2 teams that are left to nail down their bid are Stony Brook and UMass Lowell.
Yeah, just correct myself. Yeah, they are 5th, so they do, as a need a tie. UMass Lowell lost as well, or UMass Lowell lost as well, and or a win, and they're in, because UMass Lowell holds the tiebreaker, I believe, should these 2 go into these 2 in the season on the same record. But this is a team, I think there's a lot of folks, myself included, really underestimated them. And I thought they proved a lot of people wrong. And yeah, even if, they missed playoffs, I still consider this a good season. At the very least, it's a much better season than the past couple of years have been. And I think they'll finish with a respectable 7-7 record. And it's all about looking to improve your competition against conference opponents. Those losses again against Hartford. Hartford only had 2 wins in conference play, and they were 4-9-3 overall. So that was a game they really shouldn't have lost. But at the same time, if they're able to get that win against UAlbany, who's currently third, it should be all right. It's not going to come easy, but I think, again, if they're able to work the field, really push the ball up, and attack, control possession, they should be good to go.
I don't know if the fact that UAlbany really has nothing to play for at this point figures in, because they're locked in the 3. There's no way they can go up or down. If they lose, they won't go down. And Stony Brook, of course, needs to nail down their playoff bid. So I don't think Albany's going to let them win by any stretch of the imagination. But
yes, there's enough, I think, of that rivalry there. It may not be as intense as in other sports. It's still there in the back of their minds. And, UAlbany was going to want to end their regular season on a high note. But with that said, this is a game I think, if I'm coach for UAlbany, I'm letting the bench run it a little more. And again, worst case scenario, Stony Brook's in. It's Stony Brook UMass Lowell at that point. UAlbany is kind of a coin flip, in terms of if they got to play them, should they play them throughout the postseason, in terms of that matchup ability for them. So
okay, now turning to volleyball, they played today, swept Hartford, and that's 4 sweeps in their last 5 matches. And Hartford, bottom of the America East. But now, where do they stand? They're second in the standings. UMBC's undefeated, and they secured a playoff berth a while ago. So basically, just tuning up.
Yeah, exactly. Clinching that playoff berth tonight, following the win earlier today because of UNH's loss to UAlbany. And as we said, UMBC, Stony Brook, UAlbany, UNH is probably going to be the 4 teams that ultimately make it into the postseason in a couple of weeks. So that's going to be fun to watch. Stony Brook and UAlbany, always a lot of bad blood there between them. Obviously, the Great Danes, not forgetting how Stony Brook upset them back in, I believe it was 2017, and then 2018, Stony Brook beating UAlbany to win their second straight conference title. And the following years, UAlbany finally getting that measure of revenge against them in the first round. So also, they're probably going to play each other in the first round again. And it's going to be a pretty hot contest in terms of that intensity and rivalry going down. But for Stony Brook,
be the 2-3.
Yes. And again,
UMBC and New Hampshire be the 1-4.
Yeah, and with that history there, again, it's probably going to be a battle between those two for who goes on to face UMBC, who still haven't lost in conference play. And really, Stony Brook plays UMBC to close out the season in a couple weeks. I don't know if UMBC is going to lose in conference play. They just looked that good. They beat Stony Brook earlier 3-1 at the very start of conference season. But for Stony Brook, their success has really come into fruition because they've played really good, I think, wire to wire. Just today they beat Hartford pretty easily in the first set, 25-16. And they've just been really good at pulling away and pulling off long scoring runs. Had a 5-1 run in the second set against Hartford, and then later had an 8-0 run to ultimately take the second set and open the third set on a 9-1 run. So that's sort of what Stony Brook's MO has been, especially on the offense. And when you look back at those championship teams featuring players like Kyla Brooks, Sydney Bowman, Emily Costello, that was really what got them to those victories, was that they played really good in the middle of the sets and had long scoring runs. They got a great outside hitter in Maya DeLong. She has great strong play. She finished with match high 12 kills, hit 47%, which is her best of the season. Tori Henry's continued to shine in the offensive attack as the team setters dished out 37 assists. And in 3 sets as well, it's pretty impressive, to average just a little over 12 assists per set. That's essentially half of the points coming off the hands of Henry to a fellow attacker. And, them, along with Leonie Coons, who just missed out on a triple-double, have really been the forefront of the Seawolves' success this season. So I think continuing to turn to them is going to lead to big things, and it's ultimately going to be a battle between them and UMBC and their great offense.
Tell you something. I'm just looking at UMBC's schedule because the thing that stood out for me is, as you said, they are 10-0 in conference and 15-10 overall, which means their non-conference schedule, they played 15 matches and they went 5-10. So what I do, this kind of reminds me of what the baseball team often ends up doing, and softball too. They have a bunch of tough opponents non-conference, and they go in to the American East schedule not looking so hot, and then all of a sudden they take off. But this is a perfect example. They lost their first 4 matches against FGCU, USF, South Florida, Rutgers, and Miami.
4 very legit teams.
Rio Grande Valley, Nicholls State. They play TCU, American, Quinnipiac. They beat Howard. They beat Maryland. They lost to. Beat Robert Morris. Lost to West Virginia. Beat George Washington. Lost to Coppin State. And then went on their tear. So talk about, I mean, it's very, Matt Sink and I have had conversations about this over the years because he likes to have a little bit of balance to the non-conference schedule. He wants it to be challenging, but not so challenging that it will demoralize the team, and then he has to build them back up for the American East schedule. So that's where it gets tricky. You're the best team in your conference, and you're going into your conference season 5-10. Now, the 5-10, like I said, is going up against power conference schools, but it's still 5-10.
Yeah, and I think for UMBC too, they got a big boost because of what they did during the spring. They were the number 2 seed. I remember it was only the finals because of the COVID-19 pandemic being played. So they were the number 2 at UAlbany, the defending champs, and they pulled off the upset and got their first conference title during the spring. So I think they really picked off from that, and in conference play have just continued to go on a roll. And again, they got some great hitters too. Anouk Van Noord lead in the conference with 178 kills overall. Starting to look at some of the conference statistics here. Michaela DeMorzi also right behind her at 110 kills overall in the season. So you have the 2 best offensive players on your squad, and they've really been producing the most amount of kills and successful offensive plays for this team. So, again, they got the most dangerous attack. I think they continue leaning on them, and they're probably going to go undefeated in conference play. But it's going to be fun because, again, those semifinal matchups are always so unpredictable, right? If you asked me, Stony Brook was going to win against you only a few years ago, I would have thought, probably not. They got talent, but not to level you hope. And they proved everyone wrong, playing off some incredible upsets. So
let's take a look at what's going on also in hockey, because Seawolves hockey team, as we said, a force to be reckoned with. No one can beat them. They had a home and home against NYU over the weekend, and Davin Vandezilver opened up the scoring in of a 5-1 win on Friday. Kyle Stepney, 5 minutes in the second, and they outshot NYU. They outshoot everybody by significant amounts. They double up on people. But NYU tried to beat up on them a little bit. 22 penalty minutes.
Yeah.
But the Seawolves didn't score on the power play, which is also highly unusual because their power play is usually pretty effective. But they scored 5 goals, so what?
And that was the contrast between Friday and Saturday, because the one goal that Stony Brook was able to score and ultimately be the game winner came off the power play. And the only penalty of the contest between either team as well, although you could have argued, I certainly would have, that more probably should have been goal. But yeah, the one penalty they got on Saturday, Stony Brook was able to convert and score a goal on. But yeah, this Seawolves team, 7 straight victories. They have been on a roll since the start of the season. And that attack has been a big reason why. Talked about Davin Vandezilver and his scoring ability. Brendan Apepe, just continuing his scoring prowess, has earned a point in 9 of the last 10 contests to open up the season. He had his 5th power play goal, and that's second best in the nation, Matt.
51 shots on goal.
Yeah.
Chris Cataldo, 50 saves.
Yep.
But, again, Matvey Kazakov has been the lead goalie for the Seawolves. He's 8-1, second best record in the nation. His goals against, as you published here, is 1.75. But he kind of reminds me of Martin Brodeur in one way, in that he doesn't face a lot of shots, but stops what comes to him.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty fair estimate. And he only gave up one goal during the weekend, and he's saving at about a 94% clip, which is 10th best in the nation. He's done a real good job, and I think behind the offense, he's been their biggest reason why this team is currently 8-1 or 9-1 on the season. So, these guys have played phenomenal hockey, and Kazatov has been a big factor in that, again, with his goaltending ability, just making good blocks. You saw it over the weekend. He didn't have to work too hard for them. He does the simple things well, and that's key in not only just hockey but all sports, especially good teams. Is not overcomplicating it. Is just keeping the shots in front of you, keeping those blocks pretty easily to where you're not losing possession, they're not bouncing off you. You're not giving up rebound opportunities. When he gets the puck to his chest, he's stopping it, he's blocking it, he's stopping possession. And just quickly, again, I wanted to perhaps to Chris Cataldo, who was a contortionist out there in yesterday's loss. It's funny to bring up Brodeur because he reminded me of Hank, where Cataldo was essentially standing on his head about half the game, just blocking all these shots coming in the left, right, from the wing. Oh, yeah. And again,
that happened to Hank a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So our dark days for the Rangers. Playing right now against Kraken, tied 1-1, by the way. But yeah, Cataldo played phenomenal hockey. He was the better of the two goalies yesterday. I thought really learned from that 5-1 loss Friday, where he was also starting in net, and really shut down the Seawolves offense. But it took, again, that one power play opportunity. And going back to the offense, they're good. And this team's good because they capitalize on those advantages. They don't waste too many scoring opportunities throughout the game. That's why they're able to get about 4 or 5 goals per contest.
Well, what's on hand for them? They are going to be continuing. And, of course, Stony Brook Hockey is basically their schedule is 2 games per weekend. So let me just open up here and get you up to date on what's coming up next for them, because they have to go down to Lynchburg, Virginia this coming weekend to take on Liberty. And then the weekend after that, this one's going to be interesting because Syracuse comes to the rinks in Hauppauge, and Stony Brook beat Syracuse twice by identical 8-1 scores. Now, they're going to be out for blood. There's no doubt about that. Liberty's always a good rivalry. They've got some big bruiser kids on that squad. They always have. And there's been a home-and-home deal going on with them for years. And, of course, they're in the same division, everything like that. But they come back the weekend of my birthday, January 22nd, 23rd. But that's always a good matchup. So, but what really stands out for me is the first broadcast we did was the night after the home opener, where we saw them take on Davenport, where they won 5-2 and lost the night before. That's their only loss of the season so far. Yeah. They go to Adrian, top-ranked team in the country for their division, sweep them on the road. They take on Rhode Island, manhandle them. They just did the home-and-home with NYU. So they're back where they should be. Yeah, and again, Stony Brook has always had a strong club team.
Yeah, and it's shown this year. Just looking at the ESCHL, which Stony Brook is a part of, along with NYU, who they just played, Delaware, who they're going to play, RIU, who they played recently, Syracuse and Drexel. Stony Brook's topped the conference, 6-0 in conference play. And a big reason for that is because, again, that attack. They have 30 goals on the season. Next up in the conference is, or rather division, is Delaware at 17. Stony Brook has a goal differential of plus 24, and they're the only team with a plus 20 goal differential in that division. So, that offense is averaging 3 goals a game to be exact. And the defense, and especially the goaltending of Kazakov, has been phenomenal for this team. And it's early now, but if they continue to pick it up, it could really go places, already being the number 7th ranked team in the nation.
I'll tell you something. You can get the puck into the Stony Brook zone. The problem is you can't do anything with it.
Yeah.
They break up passes, they block shots, they get in the way.
They do a great job of where even when, like we saw yesterday with NYU, they got the puck in the Stony Brook zone a few times, but Stony Brook was able to bat it away, jar it loose, and really contain the puck behind the cage. So you're essentially trapped there, and your only source of kind of recourse is to give up possession and have to wait again at the blue line or at the red line to try to force another turnover or prevent a breakaway or start your own. Seals did such a good job in smothering NYU, number one. Number two, not letting them get too many good looks in front of the cage, in front of the net, to really set up their offense.
Tell you what, too. Getting a breakaway on Stony Brook's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Because they're faster.
Yeah, and they play the 1-3-1 as well. So you're always going to have that one backer there, the one defender who's always going to be on the other blue line, making sure it doesn't happen. We see it a lot. It's all the Isles. The Rangers have been doing it a bit more recently as well. Their coach, Gerard Gallant. But, 1-3 has been working for them. And I think defensively, that's been their biggest reason why, is because they're forcing you to play up against the boards. And because Seawolves got the bigger players, you're getting smacked. You're getting smashed on the board. All right. You're going through the Seawolves defenders. They are taking a piece of you while you try to go through them. So you're going to be facing the glass. And that's, I think, been a factor for why these other offenses haven't been as aggressive, as dominant against the Seawolves as there are other conference contenders, like a Delaware, for example, 3-1 in conference play, or even NYU, who their only conference losses are against the Seawolves.
Okay, so upcoming schedule for the Stony Brook Seawolves is that we do have another football game, but this will be on the road at Maine, and that game will take place. We will air it, and it will start at 11:45 a.m. on Saturday, November 6th. The game will take place in Orono. Our guys will be in the studio, and then they have another road game the following week, 12:45 start at Villanova. We may make the trip for that one, and then home against Albany, and that'll be it for football. But any new developments that we should be making people aware of in basketball, women's or men's?
Season is about 10 days away or so, and just to keep up with all the news, just follow WSB social media at WSB Sports for all the latest and breaking news. But both teams look set. We'll be previewing them more next weekend as we continue to kind of reload our staff here. And when they get back, they'll really be excited to preview it as well.
Well, the great thing about it is that we will be transitioning very, very quickly because the Patriots Center at George Mason University will be host to the opening game of the season, Tuesday, November 9th. And like I said, but we have a women's game at home that night. So we will not be airing it for a good reason, because we have Delaware State. That game will air at 6:15 p.m. here at Stony Brook.